Okay. Seems like we still got some people joining. We ask that you guys can be on or off camera, but at least mute yourselves. If you have a question, please save it till the end or put it in the chat. We do have some of our lovely ACDS talent team here to answer any questions in the meantime throughout the webinar as they come. Or you can wait to the very end to ask your questions. But to get started, thank you for attending our monthly webinar. Today, we are talking about setting priorities and making room for what truly matters, talking about a little bit about time management and how that works with your career. Today's speakers, my name is Elise Long. I am one of the co-hosts. I am a work-based learning recruiter here at ACDS. And I'll explain a little bit more about my title in the next slide. But my co-host is Katie Rain. She is our Reskill recruiter. Part of our talent team also includes our Director of Talent Management and Recruiting, Ashley French, a work-based learning program manager, Amanda Chaplin. We have two senior recruiters and career coaches, Nicole Parsons and Jenny Sales as well. So if any of you have ever talked to any of us, these are our faces. And stuff. So about ACDS, we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to building and retaining top IT talent in the state of Arkansas. We partner with tons of company partners throughout the state of Arkansas. And we do that through 3 different programs that we have here in our state. Like I said in our previous slide, Katie is part of Reskill, which is like what I like to call like our first step into our program. Reskill is what I like to call like our training program of sorts. We have a partnership with Google Coursera in which we have been allotted 9 different training paths. And you can select any one of those. It's completely free and self-paced to our candidates. And they kind of offer, you know, an ability to get some certificates within the IT world. If you're willing, if you've been wanting to, you know, add some certs to your resume, or as we kind of go into our webinar a little bit, for those who have a desire to change careers and they're like, I want to do IT, but I don't necessarily know how to start, Reskill is the perfect place to do it. I do want to do a little shameless plug. Our top 3 Google certs are IT support, cybersecurity, and data analytics. So they're all a little different. But those are our top 3 that I would say are our most popular. Our next area and within ACDS is our work-based learning, which is what I kind of do. It's our internship side of things. So when you think of internship, you think college, of course. And in a sense it is, but our internships are a little different. They are year-round, and they are about 3 months long. They are paid, and it's with our company employers. So kind of on a demand sort of base, we do have partnerships within companies throughout the whole state of Arkansas. So for our Central Arkansas people, we have some companies that are looking for some interns for our Northwest people as well. We have some companies in the Northeast side, such as like Jonesboro and everything. And we're working on our South Arkansas region as well. But again, those are for people who, let's just say you go through our Reskill and you're like, okay, Elise, I've completed cybersecurity. I now need to, you know, get a job or whatever. Our work-based learning allows people that assistance to open the door within that new realm that you're trying to get into. You are doing real work, real time. So it's not like you're fetching coffee or getting dry cleaning. No, you're doing real work, working on real projects to help your skill set. And then finally, our apprenticeship program, which is full-time work for our more seasoned people who have definitely worked a little bit in IT before, but kind of need a little bit more additional training. In recent months, and as our company continues to grow, we are emerging into a new field of apprenticeships that Miss Jenny Sales is a part of. We have advanced manufacturing, and we also do advanced energy as well. So for anybody who's like, okay, I have an IT background, but I also, you know, have thought about, you know, doing some machinery or something like that, or being part of advanced energy, looking at solar panels. we definitely are looking at companies to partner with to kind of branch into a new field. So yeah, we're definitely leading the charge in Arkansas and just kind of helping those who are looking to make a change. So as we talk about mastering time and setting priorities and all that, so we are kind of looking at how long does it take to make a career change. On average, studies have shown that it takes about 6 to 8 months. And it's a little bit of a challenge. And so it's like, how do we prioritize? How do I, truly commit to taking that leap of faith? It can be really scary. We here at ACDS, our our target market is for those people looking to make that career change. So for the stay-at-home mom who's been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and now she's got, some kids that are a little bit more independent. She's looking to come back into the workforce. Or for the person who's been a nurse or has been, like a truck driver for all of his life or her life, and is like, okay, you know what, I'm ready to be behind a desk and kind of sit down and do some IT work because I've always found computers fascinating. This is kind of the webinar for you as we talk about how to do the career change. It is very intimidating, but it's not hard. And with a little hard work, it can definitely be done. So just the reminder that the timeline is within your control, shaped by your priorities and your focus as we go through this webinar and talk about it. And empower your journey by wisely allocating time and concentrating on key aspects of skill development. A little bit about me, I actually am a career changer. I moved, I'm not from Arkansas, but I moved here 3 years ago, got a job in IT as a developer. So I'm always around IT some way, shape, or form. But I just realized like I am so much of a people person. And the tech side, while it was very interesting and very cool, it just wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I kind of started with, okay, well, what am I good with? Right. And I think that's probably the first question we need to ask, or what interests me. And so I realized two things. I love people. I either like to talk to people or I like to help people. So I was kind of on an interesting path of maybe healthcare or maybe recruiting. And then the company I was with actually like had a part-time recruiting role kind of pop up. So I took it. And so I was part IT developer, part recruiter. And I realized I'd be on the road and I was like, I love this recruiting stuff. And we were mostly talking to college students, but to give that advice, to really, show people like, hey, like your resume is perfect. Like, let's make a little tweaks here and there, how to give some internet or interview coaching. I absolutely loved it. And so then when this job became available here at ACDS, I just took it. And as I kind of tell this story, it did take me about a year, the year 18 months mark, to kind of complete that. It was around 2 years when I noticed I was like, nope, not being fulfilled. And then making that next step. So, hey, I just want to let everyone know I am a career changer. It was hard. It required a lot of patience, but it can be done. And if you ask me, am I happier today? I will tell you 1000% yes. So let's start with, okay, what's stopping us from kind of making some of these career changes? And one of the first ones and most popular ones is self-sabotage. What is self-sabotage? So from Psychology Today, self-sabotage can best be defined as when certain behaviors create problems in daily life and interfere with long-standing goals. So as we continue on, we'll talk about like the typical excuses, the I don't have times, the what about can I afford it? Like, would I be taking a pay cut or something like that or anything? So self-sabotage, we are our biggest critic sometimes. And sometimes we just either need to kind of look ourselves in that mirror and have that pep talk, have a good mentor by our side to kind of help us overcome that self-sabotage. But let's talk about maybe our first number one excuse is I don't have time.
Yeah, I think this is something that Come on, we've all told ourselves this so many times. Every year I always make the goal, I'm gonna lose weight this year. And then what happens? I get through, February, I'm like, man, I really just don't have time for this. Life, it really feels hectic at times. No matter who you are, no matter what career you're in. Um, and I think a lot of times we have this idea of I just don't have enough time to fulfill all my duties, all my responsibilities, and work towards my goals. But I want to challenge you. Ask yourself, do you really have no time, or is it just overwhelming? The thought of maybe adding more to your plate. Maybe you're nervous about making a career change because it is nerve-wracking, y'all. Like you move into a new industry that you might not know too much about. Or maybe you're coming, like Elise said, from being a stay-at-home parent for the past 10 years, and so you're going back into the workforce. It's a new environment again. um, I want to challenge you to explore whether maybe the reluctance you're feeling really comes from truly time constraints, or maybe it is the fear of stepping into a new career. So is it a matter of uncertainty on where to start? If so, assess if your perceived time shortage, if it's linked to not knowing how to begin. I think that's kind of the hardest part for a lot of people is how do I even start this? Um, we often will find, moments in our day to jump on the phone, scroll through Twitter, scroll through Facebook. I know for me, I've got a set time every night for almost 2 hours. Geez, it's a lot of time where it's my Netflix and relax time. So, it's important definitely for that self-care piece to, take time for yourself, but also, try and carve out, 20, 30 minutes a day to really focus on your goals. For me, I have a goal of I want to learn how to play bass this year. So 30 minutes every night, me and my husband, he already plays bass. We set some time up, together where we can focus on, me learning this new skill set. But think about that 30 minutes a day, it really does add up. Um, you can use this time for learning a new skill online. That's kind of the beauty of, the online courses that we provide through our Reskill program is that it's not that you have to come in at a certain set time, every day or 3 times a week for a class. It's really based on when you have availability. And, let's really have also like an honest conversation about our roadblocks. Um, if a roadblock for you is, like I said, the time, you can carve out that time. I promise you. It kind of take a little bit of an assessment on what you're currently doing. That's what I had to do when I started realizing I'm spending way too much time on my phone. Um, but you can carve out that time. But also, figure out other roadblocks. If it is it the space that you're in. For me, a huge thing, I don't have children, so I can't say that I understand that particular roadblock at times of having kids kind of like mom or dad you, but I do have animals. I've got 3 very needy dogs, and so when my husband and I are practicing bass together, they got to go in a different room. I've got to set them up. They can't be distracting us because I will use that as an excuse to say, oh well, they need something right now. And children, they're much more vocal and they can open doors. So, consider, other roadblocks that, might be kind of coming into play that you can remove. There are things in our control. I think it's just a lot of times it feels just so overwhelming. So just kind of start, little at a time. If 30 minutes is too much, set it to 10, you know, jump on, grab your laptop, grab your phone. You can do these courses from your phone. That's really a cool feature. Go say, hey, I need a bathroom break. I know a lot of parents, they lock themselves in the bathroom to just get, some quiet time. Use that time instead of scrolling to focus on developing your skill set. We're thinking long-term future. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, it adds up, y'all. So really the key is identifying and utilizing the resources that you do have, the things that are in your control, to grow your skill sets at your own pace. It's not about finding time. We don't have to find time. The time is here. It's about utilizing the time that we have, prioritizing the time that we have, and optimizing it to make sure that you are using your time for meaningful growth and development. I know people, I've heard it say all the time, well, we have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. I know Beyonce's got a little bit more support on her, but in reality, it is true. And so, just kind of think about, what do you want? And it's not a matter of, well, what if I can? It's, when can I?
Okay. So like Katie said, it's how to find the time, how and more so, it's more so how to make the time. And Katie kind of illustrated this perfectly when she was kind of talking about her own personal goals right now when she said she was trying to learn bass, but mapping out your day and kind of adding, like, where do I prioritize, my life and my day-to-day routine. So first things first, there are moments in our day when we're just not being productive, where we're not really working, or like Katie said, we find ourselves kind of watching Netflix or just scrolling on our phone, or I don't know, maybe even talking to a friend too long. So just let's find a way to make time, but first ask ourselves, where are we losing time? Um, and when you do that, you can probably start to add, like a puzzle, how to incorporate the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So first, let's map out our day. Talk about our daily commute, our family time, our work time, and our downtime. For our Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 people, it can be, after working a day of, whatever you guys do, it can be taxing to want to come home and then get into, I guess, I don't know, study mode or work mode. But it will definitely pay off, and it'll be kind of easy. It'll be second nature to start doing these things. But also, we're going to talk about this some more throughout the end, but don't forget about even the self-care aspect of, like, hey, I am doing this, but I am also a full-time fill in the blank. I'm a full-time worker here, or a full-time mom, but also that self-care aspect. And even work. I remember I was in the process of reading a book, and I would just go to my car during my lunch hour and read that book. I was determined. I used to read a lot of books in high school, and then all of a sudden I went to college and became a grown up and just stopped reading. And I was like, no, I want to get back to this. So even find those little moments at work. Most of our jobs kind of have Wi-Fi. So if you could bring your laptop on and, work during your lunch hour, that would also be kind of cool. And then kind of ask yourself, like, what do I do during my downtime? What does my downtime look like? Are you a vegging out, Netflix, being on your phone type person, and all of that? And then kind of working on making some changes, like, okay, maybe 30 minutes of Netflix. Does it have to be right away? Or since I'm already kind of in a work mindset, do I just go right to more work, and then at the end of the night you have like 8 to whatever time you go to bed to kind of chill. So just kind of mapping out what's the essentials, the non-negotiables, of course. And where could we add maybe 30 minutes to an hour? Do we wake up a little early? I am not an early person, but I am a night owl. So I always found myself doing a lot of my work at night. Um, may not be the healthiest thing, but I could always get up the next day and go to work and be on time, and excuse me, and all of that. Cut down on TV, phone scrolling. I remember when I was going through a year of challenging myself, I told myself I could not watch TV until I completed my goal. And maybe that's what you need to do. Make those little goals for yourself. Like, okay, when I do this, then I can, it's like unlocking the secret treasure. Like, set that goal, complete, a lesson in Google Coursera, and then be like, okay, I can now play my video game or watch my TV or watch my episode. Try setting some goals for yourself, like little mini goals to help the bigger goal.
Okay. Let me see. I think I skipped a slide somewhere. There we go. Okay. So at this point, and I definitely want to challenge everybody here today, myself included, to kind of do these steps, because at the end, you're really going to be able to carve out that time. Like Elise said, start writing down your schedule, start writing down how long it takes you. But at this point, hopefully, we've started to find that there is time to spare, or maybe that there's time that you're going to start setting aside to focus on your development. You've done that soul searching to see what works best for you. I know for me, like Elise said, she is a night owl. I'm a morning gal. Like, I've got to do all my stuff in the morning, because if it's not done, if my emails aren't done by the morning, if there's certain things that I know I need to get done, it hangs over my head. So dig deep in your soul to figure out, what's going to work best for you. And once you have, now we need to start putting a plan together about how you're going to utilize this time. We wanted to share some really great time management techniques, because this was something that I really had no clue about whenever I started working, just like in the workplace, in general. It was how to manage my time effectively. I personally, I struggle with like ADHD. So if I, get distracted even for a minute, boom, there goes probably an hour and a half on something that is more interesting than what I was currently doing. So a few different things that you guys can do. The Pomodoro technique, fantastic. It helps me whenever I am doing things I don't like to do particularly. For example, I am not an email person. I don't like communicating through email. It's just not my jam. I'm a talker. I'm a recruiter. I want to, connect with people in person. So this is a technique where you can work in intervals. Typically, it's going to be like 25 minutes at a time, followed by like short 5-minute breaks. There are some fantastic YouTube videos. If you just type in Pomodoro technique, I always do the Pomodoro lo-fi because I like the aesthetic of it. It makes me feel like I'm a main character. But what I've found is not only does this help you get those things done that they need to get done, you're not really in the mood to do it. It forces you to start. What I found is once I've started, I typically can work through those 5-minute breaks. It's just about getting started though, a lot of times. That's typically the issue. So that's one. The Ivy League method. I always want to call it Ivy League. Prioritize 6 tasks every day, focus on completing them. I call this my eat the frog time. Every single morning, I look at my to-do list. I look at things that I didn't get done from the day before for whatever reason. Maybe it was time, maybe it was, I didn't have the resources in that moment to do it. But I write down, the 6 things that I need to get done, and I set aside an hour in the morning to knock them out. So it's not weighing on me, anymore for the rest of the day. SMART goals, that's another one. Fantastic. These are really great for long-term goals. So you're thinking, career change, you're thinking losing weight, you're thinking, learning a new instrument, learning how to cook, whatever it is. These are a fantastic method for you to set realistic goals with an actual timeline, actions that you need to complete, that making sure that asking yourself, is it relevant? Is it important to you truly? And also making them time bound as well. The next is eating the elephant. So I really love the visual on this one. You have a large task that you need to do. You need to eat an elephant. How are you going to do that? You're not going to do it in one, big gulp. You're going to choke. So you're going to cut that task into smaller tasks. Maybe it is like, for me, this is a huge one for me. It's cleaning a room. I know it sounds so weird, but if I focus on first thing, I need to pick up the trash. Second thing, I need to wipe down, the counters, whatever it is. Making it into smaller tasks really helps with making sure I don't feel overwhelmed by the whole goal itself, the big thing that, needs to get done. And it puts into perspective for me that I can do this. And then I also kind of get that little, feeling of, ooh, yay, I finished something. Every time I get to, cross out like, hey, you swept, the kitchen. That's one piece of cleaning the whole kitchen, but you swept that. You're done with that piece. Now let's move on to the next thing. And then finally, Parkinson's law. So this one's a huge one. Work, it expands that, to fill the time available. I think this was something actually that was talked a lot about whenever people started working from home, because people realize that a full 8 work hours might not be necessary sometimes, depending on the area that you're in. People were able to get their work done in a shorter amount of time because they didn't feel like they had to fill a whole 8 hours. They were really focused on, okay, these are the things I need to get done in this workday, and they were able to get it done in 4 to 6 hours. So give yourself tight deadlines. This is one of the reasons I really like the Pomodoro technique, actually, because if I say, okay, I've got 25 minutes to finish 6 emails, that's all I'm giving myself. I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to, boom, boom, boom. And I'm not going to really overthink on things that don't require that extra brain power. I think a lot of times we, besides, filling up the time, we also are just kind of overthinking what really needs to get done instead of just doing it. So just a few methods to kind of help you manage your time a little bit better.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. Okay, thank you, Katie. And to kind of piggyback off of her, and everything, and let's do some self-assessment. When do you work best? You definitely just heard two different people. I'm a night owl, Katie's the early bird. So I don't know who's gonna get the worm, but we're both going to work at it equally at our own different pace. So figure out, when do you work best? Find the time of day where you feel the most productive and motivated. Um, it can be kind of hard to get started, especially without a clear path. So finding out first, when do you work best, is definitely a great place to start. Second, I would say, do you need accountability? And I will say the accountability part, whether it's someone who's kind of either going through the same thing as you, so another friend who's also either going through a career change or taking the same course as you, that can be very helpful to have that buddy system. That way it's like, hey, we said we were going to do this together. So that's like either, meeting at the library or meeting at a Starbucks and working together to accomplish your goals, or getting a mentor who's like, hey, I recommend you do this, and just asking your mentor, like, hey, can you do weekly checkups for me? Or in the beginning, maybe daily checkups or daily reminders, to help me stay on task with my goals. Remember, self-sabotage is what we're trying to overcome. So how do we overcome that? Accountability is how we overcome self-sabotage. And then survive by calendar. I have discovered that putting everything on my calendar helps. In a world in which, we're always on our phone or always on a computer, as I'm on my work computer all the time, communicating with different candidates or even my own teammates. I discovered, like, if I put it on my calendar, it kind of lets everyone kind of see, like, where I'm at, where they're at, and everything. And also just making those blocks. Like if I find myself, like, after this webinar, for example, I kind of have a 2-hour block before I have something else. And it's like, oh, I could be catching up on some other work, reaching out to other candidates, or, doing something that can help the company, and stuff like that. So survive by calendar. I also have calendars like everywhere in my house. And I will even put, little markers on the dates. Like I fill out every month and I kind of have like, okay, on this day, I'm going to do this. On that day, I got this. Or just even planning out your events too can definitely help. Distracted easily. I think in our world, I think we're a little distracted, more so than ever, especially as, they say that these quick little social media apps, they just release like these bursts of endorphins in our brain, and it keeps us kind of on a tight leash with that. So how do we overcome that? our phones definitely have that do not disturb option. I know they recently kind of integrated our phones a little bit to kind of include that with driving to prevent the texting and driving feature. So even now our phones know when we've kind of started our car. But now our do not disturb has kind of taken it a step further. Like, okay, are you in class? When does the class stop and start and stop? And we'll kind of block the phone. Most of the time, those notifications can wait, especially the social media ones. But they also have those exceptions, like if you put your, mom and dad in, the favorites, like those messages and calls will always come through. You really just don't need to be on your phone, and everything. So let's start with kind of ending our distractions. Again, maybe unplugging the television or something like that, or hiding the remote for yourself. Like a nice little hide and seek game is always great. And and stuff. So let's try to figure out, again, this is all about overcoming self-sabotage. These are helpful ways to overcome self-sabotage. And then finally, take some breaks. I mean, I know Katie and I are kind of hammering on like, these different techniques and the self-assessment, but let's just say you're listening, you're taking great notes, and you're like, I can do all this. But don't forget to take some breaks. Don't forget to kind of go for that. I will say exercise definitely helps the mental brain to recharge and regroup. Even a nap. Let's try it as we overcome self-sabotage. Let's try to get away from our technology as phones and, video games and television and stuff like that, and kind of replace it with more beneficial routines. So like taking a walk. I'm not advocating for let's go to the gym if you're not a gym person, but I used to just do walks around my complex, and like it just was like, oh wow, the air is fresher. But also like I just felt like I could do so much more. It just gave me another burst. And then even a nap, or even I just did some spring cleaning this weekend. And even then I was like, okay, I did one room, I did another room. Okay, next weekend I can do this room or whatever. So just take some breaks, be kind to yourself. We will talk about some self-care at the very end, as that is also really important to make sure you don't have that burnout as you're on your way to changing your careers, or just making goals for whatever it is that you're making a new goal for yourself in this life, whether it's a New Year's resolution. Shout out to those who are still doing that. I hear that they fail within the last 2 weeks, but for those that are determined to not let them fail, then hey, like that's awesome. Keep it up, and let's figure out how to keep them going. So self-assessment, I realize sometimes that looking at yourself and kind of being like, okay, I am my biggest critic, my biggest enemy sometimes. How do I overcome, again, self-sabotage?
Okay, so let's talk now a little bit about your action plan. And we've kind of discussed this a little bit in the beginning when we're thinking about identifying your career of interest. This is where we all start, right? When Elise was in her previous position, she was like, you know what? I think I want to try something else. So she started thinking about what is she interested in? And then, figuring out what skills are needed. The cool thing is we don't have to there's not a lot of brain power when it comes to this piece. A quick Google search, what skills are needed to become a front-end developer? What skills are needed to become a data analyst? Will quickly tell you what you need to learn. Now, this is kind of where we get stuck, and we talked about this a little earlier. Where do you start? Where can you obtain these skills? Very, very, simple, but start with us. Why not? This is a big part of what we do. In our reskill program, we provide the training that you need to develop the skills to get into IT roles. So there's not too much, once again, that you have to think about in terms of brain power. Let us help you with that. We're career coaches for a reason. We're going to help guide you to what exactly, courses that you need to take, how long it's going to take to complete them, how many projects that you might need under your belt to obtain that career. So, don't feel like you have to do that piece alone. Now, we talked about, what time can you dedicate to learning those skills? Let's go back to, our previous self-assessments. When is it going to work best for you? I'm a morning person, Elisa's a night person. What works best for you though? That's what truly matters, not what works for us. Now, this is a big one. How can you apply these skills that you're learning to your day-to-day life to start gaining experience? A lot of people who are in career changes, this is where they get really tripped up because they're like, well, I've got these skills, but the role says I need 3 to 5 years experience. Here's a couple of tips I want to give you. For one, I cannot understate, like, or overstate, understate, overstate. I can't tell you how important projects are. Whether you are a data analyst, whether you are a developer, whether you are going into IT support, having projects that you can speak to that you've applied into your day-to-day life, they're super important. For me, I just went through a data analyst apprenticeship. One of my hobbies actually that I have is personal finance. So what did I do? I started making different spreadsheets to really drill down and analyze my data. It gave me really cool hands-on experience, but I'm not in a data analyst career. So, don't undercut the value of, kind of looking at your hobbies and the skills that you're developing and seeing how you can use those skills into your day-to-day life. Now, who can you meet to help you in your next steps? Well, you can meet us for one, that's a big one, but some other places to meet people and, networking opportunities is our Tech and Talks. These are in our Central Arkansas in Little Rock, and then also in Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville. We have those networking events where you can meet other individuals who are going through career changes. They might be people who become accountability partners. You might also be able to meet some potential mentors, because I cannot underestimate, that's the word I was looking for earlier, underestimate. I can't underestimate the value of mentorship. So important wherever you are wanting to go in your career, to work with somebody, be mentored by somebody who's already been in the position that you're looking to get in, get their insights, get their support, their encouragement, just their knowledge in general. A couple others, if you don't have a LinkedIn, it's a fantastic place to begin networking, meeting other people who are going through similar things you're going through, also meeting potential employers and recruiters. Eventbrite, another fantastic place if you're trying to find more local networking events. Really great place to, look and see what's going on in your area. So let's talk a little bit now about what you need in order to be job ready. So you've got the skills, you've got, your certifications in your belt. What do you need to do now? So we need to, work on an updated resume. You need to practice interviewing, because trying to practice interviewing when you're in the middle of an interview is not ideal. If you don't have a GitHub or a portfolio, this is a really great time to create one, put your projects on there, especially GitHub. I would say be active on that throughout your training, even to show that you are dedicated to, growing your skill set. And then also, you could freelance or work on, once again, a personal project. As far as, updating your resume, doing interview practice, those are all things that we can help you with here at ACDS. So if you are not already, with our reskill program or in our system, would highly encourage you guys to check us out, apply online. All of our services are completely free. And once again, this is not something that you have to try and figure out on your own.
Okay. And as we begin to conclude our webinar today on mastering time and setting priorities, let's remember to schedule time for self-care. In our pursuit of professional development, it's very crucial to recognize the value of self-care and mental well-being. Again, you do not want burnout as we kind of begin, setting ourselves up for some positive changes in our life. Remember that it is a marathon. I think we kind of fall victim to the whole, like, my peers are in their profession and they're happy, or I can't believe I'm restarting at X age, whatever that age is for you, and you're just like, I just don't feel like this is right. No, it's a sprint. It's not a marathon. Time is actually on our side more than we realize. And with modern medicine, we're definitely living longer than they did yesterday. So always want to remind, and this is even something I preach to myself because I always feel like, oh my goodness, I'm 28 and I feel like I should have been big boss woman sometimes, and no, I'm not, and it's okay. I took a different path, and when I look back, I realized like this was my path. This is my path, and I don't regret a single step that I've made thus far. So remember, it's a sprint, not a marathon. And as you kind of walk through, you know, as Katie and I have talked about, creating that action plan, doing the self-assessment, adding some new time management techniques, strategize your plan for your personal growth, prioritize for yourselves to recharge and nurture your mental health. A thriving career is built on sustainable progress, not burnout. Think of things that, you know, kind of do help with your self-care. Again, we want to replace some of this habits with positive habits. So again, trying to overcome that self-sabotage. I realize whenever I find myself a little overworked or just overstimulated, a quick little grouping with my girlfriends really does help me recharge and nurture my mental health. Or even time with my husband. We have a date night. You know, dates don't end when you get married, and it's like, but you have to make time. Remember, where do we find this time? Make it. You find yourself like, oh, like it's really easy to make a date night with your husband or make time with your girlfriends. And then come to find out, sometimes they need it just as much as you do. So self-care, you can find it overflowing in other avenues of your life. And even taking a productive hobby, something as simple as just water, like getting plants and watering them throughout your house. The greenery definitely has a way of that recharge and regrowth, kind of. As we're kind of stepping into spring, that's really all that what that's about, kind of regrowth. So just strategize your plan for your growth. I mean, you can listen to all these little growth experts on YouTube and whatnot, but ultimately, what helps you recharge? Is it a massage? Is it a bubble bath? Is it hanging out with your friends, going for a walk, walking with your dog, or spending time with mom and dad or your children, whatever it is? Make your plan for self-care for you. And finally, your journey is uniquely yours. Embrace it at the pace that allows you to flourish both personally and professionally. So again, remember, it's a sprint, or it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So don't be out here comparing yourself to the person on your right, the person on your left. One thing I've discovered, don't keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses are struggling. They just kind of do it behind a mask. So just run your race. And finally, how does ACDS help in everything that we've talked about? We help in so many ways. We offer resume reviews. We can definitely help tweak the resume, make suggestions. We have our own different resume templates that are kind of geared towards our IT respected fields. We have an IT support resume template, a developer IT resume template, and also cybersecurity. And I think even they got a couple within advanced energy and manufacturing. And it's more so, it's not like, you know, these resumes are only for these types of professions, but more so how to market your skill set. As we talked about previously in creating an action plan, like how do I now say that I know how to troubleshoot? Well, you have a skills part in your resume. You say troubleshoot. You also know IT support now, and Linux, or you're better now familiar with Windows servers. This is, you know, resume reviews, how to add that to the resume. We also, like I said earlier, through Reskill, we offer free training resources such as Google Coursera. We also have many more with UAGC, University of Arkansas Global Campus, and tons of others, but our most popular prominent one is Google Coursera. And we also assist with mock interviews. I would just want to make this one, this was my favorite one, my favorite plug. Whether it's a job within ACDS, an internship, an apprenticeship, or an outside job, if you find yourself like, on the job market right now and you've gone through like 5 interviews and you're like, okay, I'm just not getting that call back, call us and maybe we can provide that feedback. What we do in our mock interviews is we kind of walk through the behavioral type questions that interviewers are asking. And we kind of just hear your answer and then kind of critique it. So, for example, everybody goes into that interview, and the first question they ask is, tell me about yourself. Surprisingly enough, some people don't know how to professionally tell a company, an employer about themselves. And that's kind of where we kind of give our feedback, our advice on that. We all know that one question that companies like to ask, what is your weakness? And that's where we kind of walk through, how do we professionally answer that question? That is not the time to say like, I snooze my alarm 15 times and I'm always late for work. That's not what we want to hear. We want to hear something a little bit more professional. Like, for example, my favorite one that I've heard is I struggle with public speaking. That's my weakness. And I realize that the jobs in which I'm applying for need public speaking. But what I've been doing to overcome that is kind of looking at myself in the mirror and talking to myself, talking amongst my family when we get together, or even talking to my dog, like just taking the time to say, hey, this is a weakness, but this is how I'm overcoming the weakness. So just some things that we do in our mock interviews. I just love helping people, and they definitely have been very appreciative after our mock interviews. And as we kind of talk about career changes, we do offer career coaching and stuff. So kind of hearing like, okay, I hear a lot of data, for example. I think a data analytics analyst role, or maybe even going through the data analytics Google Coursera course would be perfect for you right now. And another way ACDS helps is through networking opportunities, like Katie had mentioned. We have monthly tech and talks in respected areas. We have one in Central Arkansas. We've already had ours. So the next one would be March. Are they the first Thursday or the second Thursday of the month?
Second Thursday, if I remember.
Okay.
They're on our website though. So if we're wrong, I promise you, they're on our website under events.
Yes. So at these Tech and Talks, you get an opportunity to meet with not only us, ACDS, but also some local companies within your area. Some of those employers will stop by. And this is when you kind of have to get used to the whole elevator pitch, breaking the ice and introducing yourself. It's not that hard. These people want to have a good time, but they also want to help you as well. Hence why we have them. And then there's also a Tech and Talk in Northwest Arkansas. And they kind of do it like the following week after the Little Rock one. So let's just say if the Little Rock location is the first Thursday, then Northwest would be the second Thursday of the month. But just check our website, acds.co/events. Also, we're very active on LinkedIn. So for our LinkedIn folks, always check the LinkedIn account. Our marketing team is very quick on posting all events so far out in advance and then doing the reminders. So definitely want to give our plug to our marketing team and our LinkedIn account that definitely has all of that. And finally, our internship and apprenticeship positions do help kind of servicing that first step opportunity, or just additional training within your field. So definitely check out our website for any of these opportunities. And finally, are there any questions? We have the phone listed and our email address as well. If you guys, want to reach out for the resume assistance, or scheduling a mock interview for maybe a job interview you have coming up that's not with ACDS, we would love to help in any way that we can. So
Elise,
any questions?
Sorry, before we start opening up the floor, there's something, whenever Elise asked if I would help co-host this webinar with her, I looked at, the theme of it. It really reminded me of a quote I heard not too long ago. I wanted to share this with you guys because I really feel like making room for what truly matters, setting priorities, it goes hand in hand with self-worth. So here's the quote for you guys. Creating high self-worth doesn't happen with a few healthy habits per week. Self-worth takes time and consistency, showing up for yourself day after day. Every time you tell yourself that you will start a new habit or goal tomorrow and then you don't do it, you chip away at your self-worth. When you tell yourself you're going to do something and then do it, you build your self-worth. And self-worth is developed through showing up for yourself, trusting yourself, caring for yourself, expressing yourself, and loving yourself. So I just, it really resonated with me. It really resonated with what we were talking about today. And I hope that, it also, touches you guys too, and gives encouragement.
All right, thank you for the quote, Katie. I see, Nicole, that you had a few questions. You can definitely drop them in the chat or unmute yourself and we can answer accordingly.
Hi, everybody. I had a quick question.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm new to ACDS. This is like actually my very first exposure. So if you don't mind kind of giving me like a little bit of background, to kind of help me understand exactly what it is that you all do or what you are able to provide.
Yeah, a little bit about ACDS. We are a nonprofit organization where we help Arkansas tech companies find Arkansas talent. And we do that three different ways. The first way being our Reskill Arkansas program, which is kind of like our training facility. Katie is over that program in which, let's just say you're totally new to the world of IT, for example. The perfect place to start would be through our training platform where we have we have a partnership with Google Coursera in which you can get a Google certificate in a respected IT path. We have about 9 different training paths that one could select from. Our top 3 would be Google IT support, Google cybersecurity, and Google data analytics. They are self-paced and completely free to you. We definitely have seen some people complete it in 6 months, not necessarily a reflection of, well, they just took a long time, but more so, for people out here that are still working, but are working towards also changing their careers, it could just take them a little bit longer. But we've also seen people take about 2 to 3 months to complete a Google certificate course. So kind of however best it works for you. And then once a candidate completes a Google certificate, we kind of notice like, okay, maybe they're ready for an IT job. So then we have these company employer partners that are like, hey, we're willing to take on Katie Rains, for example, who just completed her data analytics Google certificate course, and let her be, a data analyst for about 3 months. It is a paid position. And in which Katie is going to be able to get an opportunity to kind of work on real life work as a data analyst, and what all that entails. So what does it look like to kind of create charts and graphs and present that for a particular company? So you do that for about 3 months. Desire for all of our internships to go into full-time positions, but sometimes they don't. Not necessarily a reflection on the candidate, more so a reflection on, maybe budgetary concerns. The company just doesn't have the bandwidth. But if they do, they would roll into a registered apprenticeship program, where it would be a full-time position within that company. And you're just getting additional training courtesy of ACDS, and just kind of being able to just work on enhancing those skill sets within data or whatever it is that your IT path is that you've selected. But in addition to, those 3 programs, like I said, we help with the resume assistance, the mock interview, and stuff of that nature. So that's a little bit about ACDS in a quick nutshell.
Thank you. Follow-up question, is it only for those seeking to get into an IT career, or do you all also do like just general tech courses? So like if I do want to learn how to utilize the Google um analytics for like my own personal business or whatever, do you all offer that as well?
Yeah, so our reskill program is open to anyone and everyone. We just kind of monitor, your track within it, making sure that you are kind of taking the time at least once a week to sign in and kind of complete some stuff. But if you have, no desire to, leave your current job or anything like that, and you're just like, hey, I just want to beef up my skill set, then 1000% that opportunity is available to you as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. I did see in the chat, what steps would you need to apply for an apprenticeship? So here on our questions page, we do have our acds.co/careers. And if you go to that website, all of our jobs are kind of listed by the respective categories. So I had mentioned in the very beginning, we had, apprenticeships, advanced energy, advanced manufacturing, the Reskill Arkansas, and then the work-based. So under apprenticeships, we have a couple of apprenticeships right now, and they vary within our world of IT. So I think right now, I don't know off the top of my head, but we have some IT customer specialist type apprentice, excuse me. Oh my God. I don't want to say what I think we have, and then you don't see it. So an apprentice opportunity can be found on our careers link. So you just apply for it. And we just ask with those apprenticeship jobs that you have a little bit more experience within a respected IT field, as those jobs are kind of requesting the experience aspect of a candidate. Any other questions?
I think we got them all, Elise.
Perfect. Well, if no other questions, thank you guys so much for attending our webinar. Hope hope it was helpful for you guys. Again, if any follow-up questions, you come up with a question in the middle of the night, I sometimes dream questions and things later. So don't hesitate to email the talent email right there. And again, reach out to us on LinkedIn, all of our social media stuff as well. And we will catch you guys for our next event. Thanks so much for being a part of it.
Thank you guys.